everyone. Welcome to this episode of Fit Fuel Female. I am so grateful that you're here with me today. Speaking of the word grateful, I've been thinking a lot about it lately. I always thought being grateful was the natural echo of arrival, something you grant after momentum, promotions, milestones, or those moments where you sit back and think, yep, this is exactly what I pictured. Well, then came 2025. And honestly, the December me is staring at the January me like, girl, you had no idea what was loading. You think you mapped the climb? Cute. This year had other plans. Because the tests, they came before the readiness did. The blessings came mixed with a whole lot of reality. And the girl who hustled hardest didn't get quieted. She got validated mid-story instead. The other night in the kitchen, my husband looked at me and said, "Do you realize how strong you are?" My mouth opened, ready to argue my way out of the compliment, per usual, but instead I chose honesty over debate. Not because I became invincible, but because I finally heard the sentence differently this time. Yes, I am strong. I have been through so much this year, but the strength, it has a source, and I've realized that that source, it isn't me alone. Most mornings at 5 a.m., I'm in my car headed to the gym, convincing myself I run the world before the sun boots up. But this Thanksgiving morning and break, I redirected that early spark. I traded the gym shoes for morning snuggles, for holiday cinnamon bun traditions, for a walk with my dad, for real rest, a little more sleep, and being present enough to actually feel grateful for the life I get to live inside every single day. Because gratitude this year, it didn't find me at the top of anything. It met me in the middle of everything. I didn't stop the hustle. I just finally learned when to pause it long enough to recognize what's already working on my side. And the life I'm building, it's still very much in motion. I'm still the ambitious tech sales executive. I'm still momming over here like it's an Olympic sport. And oh, yeah, I'm still losing my keys between breakfast and consciousness. But for the first time, gratitude isn't the footnote. It's the moment I stop, look around, and whisper thank you for all of this. Because 2025 didn't exactly ease me into gratitude. It kind of like power washed me into it. I had a car accident that shook my world, family challenges that pulled at me in ways I won't over describe, but I deeply felt. Finances that felt like a slap in the face with a new home and a rough first half of the year, reminding me that growth, it comes with responsibility too. Health scares that tackled me like an unapproved life update. And yeah, work tested me this year as well. Not because of failure, but because it demanded more of me than ever before. And I rose above it while still leading, delivering, and evolving into the next version of what success actually means for me. The hustle, it didn't break me. It revealed to me I was stronger than the ambition alone could ever narrate. Because what shifted me this year wasn't just the realization of how strong I could be. It was the realization that my strength came alive because my faith, it met the fire first. The chains broke not because I flexed harder, but because faith stepped in like, stand down, girl, I got this. So, yes, I'll take the seat at the table, but I'll also take the gratitude that comes from finally knowing what carried me to it, what protected me in it, and what redirected me when I needed it most. A strong woman backed by faith is a force, but a strong woman who realizes she's backed by faith, that's a force to be reckoned with. I saw this post the other day saying 2026 is the year of the phoenix, the year you rise. And the way I comprehended it was not poetic fluff. I didn't see some gentle bird rising into calm new era aesthetics. I saw grit on fire energy, wings wide, a woman standing in the ashes, realizing the ashes weren't the end, rising because her strength, it met her faith head on first. I think what I've realized as I've gotten older is the wiser I get, the more grateful I am for really understanding what gratitude actually means. I'm grateful for finally learning the difference between what deserves a sorry and what deserves a boundary. Recognizing when I need to apologize, it doesn't take anything from me anymore. It actually protects something in me, the integrity, the connection, the clarity. I'm grateful for knowing what to apologize for, saying it cleanly and honestly when necessary, and still holding the boundaries that keep me whole afterward. I'm grateful for recognizing that wisdom, it doesn't need a rebuttal to validate it. Sometimes wisdom just says thank you instead of launching a full internal negotiation on the topic. I'm grateful for the hard choices I made when they didn't feel convenient, glamorous, or explained enough to comfort the brain, but they still shaped everything that came after them. I finally see that leadership doesn't always announce itself loudly anymore. It catches the instinct before the argument even forms. That's the grown up strength. Accountable without shrinking, confident without clashing, and gracious without losing the spark that drives me. Prior me would have met these hardships and tests louder, faster, sharper, but me now, I finally learned that strength, it doesn't need a showdown to prove itself, and it definitely doesn't need aggression to narrate it. I didn't lose the fire that fueled me to the climb. I just stopped letting every test become a battle I had to win twice, once out loud and once in my head. It turns out the strongest response, it isn't arguing back. It's finally knowing I don't have to. I'm grateful that age, it hands you surprise gifts like clarity, self-awareness, humility, and the ability to evolve without canceling who you are. I'm grateful for realizing that the power move, it's not perfection, it's direction. And trusting that both the spark and the strategy, it can live in the same woman. I'm still in the hustle, still leading in tech, still over-delivering at work, and still raising tiny CEOs at home. But now I'm grateful because the strength didn't peak. It pointed, it anchored, and it grew wiser roots than urgency ever could alone. That's what hits different as you get older. Not being right all the time, not debating strength or success. It's finally understanding that you can rise without needing to narrate the rise louder than the life you already get to walk into every single day. And the most surprising part of gratitude for me this year, I can finally admit it was never just about achieving more so life couldn't take me out. My gratefulness for everything I have now feels almost amplified because this was the year I emotionally felt how we could really lose it all. My mom used to tell me all the time, Kristen, never take anything for granted because everything you have can be taken away in an instant. I use that sentence like it was a warning label on success. Promotion, don't take it for granted. Good doctor's appointment, same logic. Tomorrow's not promised. And in a lot of ways, that whisper became part of what made me hustle harder, stack more, build more, climb more, secure the future like I was negotiating against uncertainty itself. But this year, I heard her voice differently. Not like a warning pushing me to grasp tighter, but like wisdom inviting me to notice what is already here, to pause long enough to feel the weight of it, not the fragility of it, the gift of it. Because gratitude isn't repeating thank you until you sound convincing. It's letting the joy show on your face so God can feel it back. My dad said something to me the other day. God doesn't need the thank you roll call 50 times a day. He feels gratitude in the joy you carry, the smile, the presence, and the life actually lived. And I think that's what both of them meant all along. You have to be aware that life, it can shift instantly. But we can't spend our lives bracing against losing what we have. We have to spend it noticing, honoring, and loving that we even have it at all. That's the gratitude that hits different for me. Which leads me to my first lesson. Gratitude lives in the big things and survives in the small ones. This year, it taught me that gratitude, it's not one emotion, one moment, or one proclamation. It can come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes it looks like fierce faith, and sometimes it shows up in the quietest whisper of relief. And yes, my faith has been the anchor, the sustainer, the thing I leaned on when life said, girl, you are lifting heavy today. But here's the deeper truth I finally see clearly. My gratitude, it didn't come just from being carried through the hardest moments. It came from having a safe place to land when those moments let go. Every time life tested me this year, I had the privilege of going home. I didn't have to run towards home. I didn't have to hope for home later. I didn't have to negotiate for home and calendar Tetris. I just got to walk into it. My husband is my constant support system, of course, but my kids, they love me through this year in ways they could never fully comprehend at 4 and 7. And I think that's the miracle of it all. They don't understand the stakes of life yet, but they comprehend love without needing the language for it. There were nights I whispered prayers to get through the hard parts, shed so many tears I thought I was drowning in a flood. But then there were mornings I whispered thank you to the little faces that reminded me that I survived. I've always been grateful for my kids, but 2025 upgraded that sentence too. And not grateful like a corny greeting card, grateful like a recognition that I had something to return to every time life tested my strength. Grateful that love was waiting in the rooms where I didn't need to perform for it. My kids didn't save me because they understood the world this year. They saved me because they were my world this year. And that's the shift. Gratitude didn't soften me, it steadied me. It made me a better leader, a better mom, a better human walking forward, not because life got easier, but because I remembered I had something unshakable at home, even when nothing else felt that way. Grateful isn't just something you feel after the fire, it's what fuels you while you're still built for rising. Which leads me to my next lesson. Gratitude isn't what you carry, it's what you become. I used to be grateful for the chip on my shoulder. It was actually the thing that lit the fuse, the internal voice that said nothing is guaranteed. So earn more, climb more, lead more, prove more. And frankly, it worked. People even used to tell me women with a chip on their shoulder make great leaders. And honestly, they weren't wrong at the time. But also, wisdom sneaks in through friendships too. I had a friend say to me recently, "Kristen, you're so Dallas now." Then, in her true fashion, she continued, "The long blonde hair, the lashes. I mean, dare I say you've even gotten nicer?" I braced for offense for exactly a breath, then laughed because honestly, I love that for me. Not because I lost anything I had before, but because I finally became someone who didn't need to carry the chip to fuel that fire anymore. So back to my lesson my brain finally accepted this year. You don't stay grateful for the chip. You eventually thank it for the spark. Then you set it down and grow into the thing it was trying to shape in you. Because hardship shouldn't become a uniform you wear forever. It should become the evidence you survive long enough to soften into the better version of your own story. Being grateful for grit, that's not the point. But becoming someone who no longer needs grit to sound defensive, suspicious, or loud to be real, that's the point. You don't turn hardships into gratefulness by gripping them tighter. You turn them into gratefulness by evolving past needing them to narrate your worth. Gratitude is the upgrade from carrying the chip to becoming someone who doesn't need the chip to feel driven anymore. A woman who knows her strength doesn't come from what she carried, but what she learned she could put down and still rise. So, you don't want the chip to become your legacy. Trust me. You want what the chip gave you permission to become, to finally become you. That, that's earned gratitude, not carried gratitude. It's becoming gratitude. Leads me to my power move for the week. I want you to choose where your spark goes today. I want you to take one tiny action that honors the version of you who got you here and the version of you who gets to choose now. I don't want you to write a gratitude list, not an emotional audit, just one move. Maybe it's saying no to something you would have auto agreed to a year ago. Maybe it's trusting that rest today doesn't mean retirement from being strong. Maybe it's choosing presence over performance just for a morning. Whatever it is, pick the thing, make the move, and say thank you on your way into it. Gratitude isn't passive, it mobilizes you differently. You're not being asked to stop hustling, you're being invited to notice you now have the authority to aim it. And that's the gratitude. So, what's been fueling me this week? Well, I think it's safe to say gratitude. I mean, it is the heartbeat of this episode. Gratitude this year didn't sound like the polite applause we expect to give at the end of a climb. It sounded like recognition while the climb was still happening. And maybe this is the real point I want to make before we wrap. I am grateful for the breaking this year, as crazy as that sounds. Not because it was fun, tidy, or eloquent, but because broken seasons, I realized, have a way of revealing what was real and what was running on autopilot. This was the year that tested every aspect of my life: friendships, health, family, career, even the relationship I have with my own body, all at the same time. And I kept opening my eyes in it, like opening my eyes underwater, even though they kept stinging. I kept showing up in it, kept leading work in it, kept mothering in it, kept loving my people fiercely, kept praying quietly, kept signing the commission checks without finally questioning if I still earned them. But the breaking wasn't the collapse, it was the clarification. A clearing out so the rebuilding could actually begin from something truer than the version I was afraid to disappoint or the version I was trying way too hard to defend. I'm grateful because the rebuilding didn't ask me to shrink myself or trade excellence for evolution. It allowed them to finally share the same roots. God didn't hijack my story this year, but He did study the parts that cracked long enough for me to stand back up in them, grow up in them, and realize that breaking, it didn't end me. It actually renovated me. I mean, It was kind of a full-on gut renovation, to be honest. Sometimes gratitude isn't about thanking the world for going easy on you. It's about thanking yourself for surviving it long enough to grow into someone wiser, surer, kinder, and more aligned than the version that entered it. And that's the gratitude. Grateful not for perfection, but for the breaking that finally made room for the rebuilding without requiring me to shrink the woman doing it. And I want you to know, I don't take 1 second of you listening for granted either. I truly thank you for being here, for giving me space in your day, whether it's your drive, your walk, your kitchen cleanup. If this episode resonated with even one tiny corner of your heart, your ambition, your exhaustion, or your hustle, then it already did exactly what it was meant to do. I am deeply grateful for every single ear that chose to press play today, for the texts, the shares, the messages, the comments, the quiet listens I'll never fully see, but I absolutely feel. So thank you for letting me speak to the messy middle of life and thanking me back by just showing up to hear it. So as always, stay fit, stay fueled, and stay grateful. I'll see you soon, friends.